The cargo ship Horizon Star moved slowly through the cold emptiness of space. Captain Daniel Cross sat in the pilot's chair, watching the black void beyond the glass. The hum of the engines was the only sound in the room. He was on his way, back from a trade mission, expecting nothing but a quiet journey home. Then the ship's console beeped. A faint signal appeared on the radar. It was weak, almost gone, but it repeated in short bursts. Daniel leaned forward and turned up the receiver. Static filled the cabin. A voice broke through, soft and trembling. "Help me, please." It was a woman's voice, filled with fear. Daniel adjusted the translator and listened again. The words came through in broken fragments, but the meaning was clear. Someone was in trouble. He checked the coordinates. The signal came from a small point far from any travel route. No one should have been there. For a moment, he considered ignoring it. Pirates often used fake distress calls to lure ships. But the voice had sounded so real, so desperate, that he could not turn away. Daniel changed course. The Horizon Star drifted toward the source of the signal. As he approached, a small shuttle came into view. It was old and damaged, spinning slowly. One engine was gone. The hull was scarred from weapons fire. Daniel matched the shuttle's rotation and brought his ship closer. The sensors picked up only 2 life signs aboard. One was faint, like a candle in the wind. He activated the comm channel. "This is Captain Daniel Cross of the Horizon Star. Do you copy?" Static answered. Then the same voice replied, weak but urgent. "Please, take us. We cannot stay here." Daniel extended the docking arm and locked the shuttle to his ship. The airlock hissed as it opened. Cold air rushed in. The lights flickered in the small shuttle's cabin. She was there, an alien woman with silver eyes that seemed to glow in the dim light. Her skin was pale with a faint shimmer, almost like it was lit from within. She wore a torn flight suit. Her long white hair was tangled and fell across her shoulders. In her arms, she held a child wrapped in a thin blanket. Her gaze locked on Daniel the moment he stepped inside. Her lips trembled. "Please," she said softly, "take me. Take my child. Make us yours." Daniel froze. The words hit him like a sudden wave. He had rescued people before, but no one had ever said something like that. He looked at the child, small, fragile, sleeping against her chest. "Why are you here?" Daniel asked, his voice steady but low. She took a step forward, clutching the child tighter. "They are coming for us. If they find us, we will die." Her voice was calm, but Daniel could hear the fear under it. She glanced over her shoulder, as if expecting someone to appear at any moment. Daniel felt the weight of the choice pressing on him. Taking strangers aboard was always a risk, but leaving them here meant certain death. He nodded once. "Follow me." Her eyes widened in relief. She stepped out of the shuttle, her movements quick but careful not to wake the child. Daniel led them through the narrow hall into the main cabin. The moment the door closed behind them, the ship's radar flashed. Red. Multiple signals. Fast-moving ships approaching from the edge of the sector. Daniel looked at the alien woman. "Are those the ones you are running from?" She nodded without speaking. The alarms began to sound. Daniel moved to the pilot's chair and started the engines. The Horizon Star turned sharply, breaking away from the docking point. The small shuttle detached and drifted away. Through the glass, Daniel saw the black shapes of enemy ships rushing toward them. The woman stood near the door, holding the child close, her silver eyes fixed on the approaching danger. "Stay here," Daniel told her. "Hold on to something." The engines roared. The Horizon Star shot forward, leaving the drifting shuttle behind. The hunters were fast, but Daniel knew these trade lanes better than most. He cut through debris fields, slipping between broken asteroids and wreckage from old battles. The woman's voice came from behind him, soft but certain. "They will not stop. They will follow us to the end." Daniel kept his eyes on the navigation screen. Then we will have to make sure the end comes for them first. The ship raced into the deep dark, the hunters close behind. Somewhere in that moment, Daniel understood this was no ordinary rescue. This was the beginning of something far more dangerous, and the woman holding the child was at the center of it all. The Horizon Star slipped into the shadow of a large asteroid field. Daniel cut the engines to low power, letting the ship drift between the massive rocks. The radar showed the hunter ships circling nearby, searching. For now, they had lost sight of him. Daniel turned to look at the alien woman. She was still standing, holding the child close. Her breathing had slowed, but her eyes were sharp, scanning the cabin as if she expected danger from every corner. "You need to tell me who they are," Daniel said, "and why they are hunting you." She lowered her gaze for a moment. Then she sat down carefully in the seat opposite him. "My name is Lyra," she began. "The child is my son. His name is Cale." Daniel glanced at the boy. The blanket had slipped slightly, revealing a small mark on his forehead. It was a pattern of lines and curves, like a delicate star map. Lyra's fingers brushed over the mark protectively. "This symbol," she said quietly, "is the reason we are running. In my world, this means Cale is of the royal bloodline, but not from the one who rules now." Her voice trembled. "The one who hunts us is the current lord. He fears what Cale's blood means for his throne. If Cale lives, the people will rally to him one day. So the Lord wants him gone before he is old enough to speak." Daniel leaned back in his chair. "And you?" Lyra met his gaze. Her silver eyes were steady. "I was promised to that Lord long ago. I escaped before the binding ceremony. When I refused to return, he sent his hunters. But they did not come for me alone. They came for my son." Daniel studied her for a long moment. "So why tell me to take you as yours? Why say something like that the first time you saw me?" Her voice softened, but there was no hesitation. "Because in my culture, if a woman belongs to a human, she is beyond the reach of our lords. Humans are feared for their strength and their will. If I am yours, he cannot claim me without risking war. It is the only way to make him stop." Daniel frowned. "You don't even know me." Lyra looked down at her child. "I know you answered a call when no one else would. That is enough for me." The ship trembled as a faint shockwave passed through the hull. Daniel's hands moved to the controls, checking the radar. The hunters were testing weapons nearby, sweeping the asteroid field. Lyra's voice cut through the low hum of the engines. "You can leave us here if you wish. I will not beg again. But if you keep us with you, I will give you my loyalty, my service, and my life." Daniel stared at her. There was no fear in her words now, only resolve. Outside, the shadows of the asteroids moved slowly across the glass, hiding and revealing fragments of the stars. Finally, Daniel spoke. "If I keep you, it won't be as property. You understand that?" Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "I understand." The radar flashed red again. One of the hunter ships had entered the asteroid field, moving fast. Daniel powered up the engines. "Hold on to Cale. This is going to get rough." Lyra tightened her arms around the child. Her eyes locked on Daniel. He pushed the Horizon Star forward, weaving through the giant rocks. The hunters followed, their weapons flashing in the darkness. Daniel's mind was already working ahead. If what Lyra said was true, keeping them would put him directly against a royal power. But a part of him, deep and unshakable, already knew the answer. He was not going to give them up. The asteroid field stretched like a jagged maze across the black sky. Daniel gripped the controls, feeling the vibration of the Horizon Star as the engines pushed hard. The rocks spun slowly in the void, their shadows sliding across the cockpit glass. Behind them, a single hunter ship darted between the asteroids. It was smaller than the Horizon Star, faster too, with sleek black wings and glowing red lights along its hull. Lyra stood at the edge of the cockpit, holding Cale tight. The boys Eyes were closed, but his small hands clung to his mother's sleeve. Lyra's silver gaze stayed locked on the hunter's ship. "They are not here to scare us," she said quietly. "They will destroy us." Daniel kept his voice calm. "Not if I destroy them first." The hunter's ship fired. Blue bolts of plasma streaked past the cockpit, lighting up the dark with violent flashes. One struck an asteroid, blasting it into a cloud of burning fragments. Daniel pulled the ship into a sharp dive, sliding between two massive rocks. The hull scraped against one, sending a deep groan through the cabin. Lyra's voice was tense but steady. "Another one is coming from the left." Daniel checked the radar. She was right. A second hunter ship had entered the field, cutting them off. He thought fast. The asteroid field was dangerous, but it could also be a shield. If he timed it right, the hunters would be forced into a deadly collision. "Hold on," he said, pushing the engines to maximum. The Horizon Star weaved through narrow gaps, its hull almost brushing the rock walls. The hunters followed, their weapons firing in bursts. Daniel dipped low, guiding his ship under a massive slab of spinning stone. The second hunter tried to match his maneuver, but the gap was too tight. The black ship scraped the rock, its wing tearing away. Sparks burst into the vacuum. The damaged ship spun out of control, slamming into a larger asteroid. A bright flash filled the sky as it broke apart. One down. The first hunter's ship was still on them. It moved like a predator, closing the distance with every turn. Daniel spotted a dense cluster of asteroids ahead, locked together by ancient gravity. He guided the Horizon Star straight toward it. The hunter followed without hesitation. At the last second, Daniel pulled the ship into a vertical climb. The hunter tried to follow, but one of the asteroids shifted in its path. It clipped the side and spun, drifting into the cluster. The rocks closed in around it, trapping the ship in a slow, crushing grip. The radar cleared. No more signals. Daniel exhaled, his hands relaxing on the controls. Lyra stepped closer, her voice soft. "You saved us again." Daniel glanced at her. "You're still here. That's all that matters." She looked down at Cale, brushing a strand of white hair from his face. "They will send more. The Lord will not stop." Daniel knew she was right. He could already feel it. This was only the first of many chases. The Horizon Star slipped out of the asteroid field, the stars opening up before them like an endless ocean. Somewhere beyond, more hunters would be waiting. But for now, they were alive, and Daniel had made his choice. The Horizon Star drifted in the shadow of a dead moon. Its cracked surface glowed faintly under the light of a distant star. The ship's engines were silent, running on low power to avoid detection. Daniel sat in the pilot's chair, staring at the stars ahead. His hands rested on the controls, but his mind was somewhere else. The hunter's ships were gone for now, but that was no victory. It was a pause before the next attack. Behind him, Lyra sat on a small bench, cradling Cale in her arms. The boy slept quietly, his tiny chest rising and falling with each breath. Lyra's gaze was fixed on him, but Daniel could see she was deep in thought. "You should sleep," Daniel said, breaking the silence. Lyra looked up slowly. "I cannot. I keep hearing the sound of their engines. I keep seeing their faces." Daniel turned his chair toward her. "You need to tell me everything. If I'm going to keep you alive, I can't fight in the dark." She hesitated, her fingers tightening on the edge of the blanket around Cale. "My world," she began softly, "is ruled by bloodlines. Power is passed through family, not earned. The Lord who hunts us sits on the throne because he killed the one who came before him. My family was close to that throne, but I refused to bend to his will." Her voice grew colder. "He wanted me as his prize. I refused. I escaped. I thought that was the end of it. But then Cale was born." Daniel's eyes moved to the mark on the boy's forehead. "That symbol. You said it means he has royal blood." Lyra nodded. Not the Lord's blood. Another's. A line more ancient than his. One that carries the loyalty of millions. If my son lives, the Lord fears he will lose everything. Daniel leaned forward slightly. And who is Cale's father? Lyra met his gaze. For a moment, there was only silence. Her silver eyes shone in the dim cabin light. He was human, she said at last. A traveler, a man who came to my world years ago. He was different from the others. He saw me as more than a trophy. He gave me hope. Her voice softened. When he left, I did not know I carried his child. I have been running ever since. Daniel felt a strange weight in his chest. The thought of a human fathering a child with royal alien blood was already enough to shake a galactic throne. Now that child was sleeping only a few steps away. Lyra lowered her gaze. I came to you because humans have a reputation among my people. Fierce, loyal, unyielding. If a human claims someone, no lord dares touch them. It is not about ownership. It is about protection. Daniel studied her for a long moment. She was telling him more than just facts. She was offering him trust. Why risk so much for me? He asked quietly. Lyra's lips curved in the faintest, tired smile. Because when I called for help, you came. No one else would have. Outside the window, the dead moon turned slowly. Its broken craters caught the light like old scars. Daniel leaned back in his chair. If the Lord wants war, he'll get it. But first, we need a safe place to hide. Lyra's smile faded. There is no safe place in the Empire. Not for us. The quiet stretched between them. Somewhere in the dark, the hunters were searching. Somewhere beyond that, a powerful alien lord was planning their capture. Daniel looked at her one last time before turning back to the controls. Then we'll have to make one. The horizon star, cut through the black, guided by a single set of coordinates Daniel had not used in years. They led to a small, hidden station on the edge of forgotten space. It was an old friend's place, a man who owed Daniel more than one favor. The journey was quiet, too quiet. Lyra sat near the sleeping child, her eyes on the window as distant stars slid past. She had said little since their talk on the dead moon, but Daniel could feel the tension in her. She was waiting for the next attack, the next chase. We'll be safe there, Daniel said at last. My friend knows how to keep secrets. Lyra nodded, but her grip on Cale tightened. Hours later, the station came into view. It floated in the dark like an ancient relic, its metal walls scarred from decades of forgotten battles. The docking lights glowed faintly, a pale welcome in the emptiness. Daniel opened the COM channel. Station control. This is the horizon. Star requesting clearance. Static answered. Then a faint voice crackled through. Clearance granted. Bay 3. Welcome back, Daniel. He smiled faintly. See? Friendly voices. The ship slid into the docking bay. The metal doors closed. Behind them, the engines powered down, leaving only the hum of the station's life support. Daniel rose from his seat and glanced at Lyra. Stay close. My friend's a good man, but this station can be unpredictable. They stepped into the docking bay. The air smelled faintly of metal and dust. The lights flickered overhead. No workers moved between the ships. No footsteps echoed in the halls. Daniel frowned. It's too quiet. Lyra's voice was a whisper. Something is wrong. The doors at the far end of the bay slid open. Figures stepped through, their movements sharp and precise. Hunter armor, black helmets, weapons ready. Daniel's hand went to his blaster. The lead soldier stopped a few meters away, his visor reflecting the docking lights. Then he stepped aside. Another figure entered, the alien lord. Tall, broad, draped in silver armor that gleamed even in the dim light. His face was sharp and cruel, his eyes burning with cold. Authority, Lyra gasped. Cale stirred in her arms. The Lord's voice was smooth, dripping with satisfaction. You've saved me the trouble of chasing you, Lyra, and you've brought the boy right to me. Daniel stepped forward, placing himself between them. You're not taking him. The Lord's gaze shifted to Daniel. You are human, brave, perhaps, but foolish. This is not your fight. It is now. The Lord smiled faintly, like a man humoring a child. Give me the child, and I will let you walk away. I may even let the mother live. Daniel didn't move. His blaster stayed ready. His voice was low and steady. You'll have to go through me first. The air in the docking bay felt heavier, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. The hunters tightened their formation. Lyra pressed back against the wall, her body shielding Kale completely. The Lord's smile faded. Very well. If you wish to die for them, I will grant your wish. The alien Lord's command echoed in the docking bay, cold and certain. Daniel's fingers tightened on his blaster. Every muscle in his body was ready. The first hunter moved. A flash of metal caught the light as the soldier aimed. Daniel fired. Before the hunter could pull the trigger, the shot struck the black armor square in the chest, sending the soldier crashing to the ground. Chaos erupted. Lyra pressed herself into the corner, holding Kale close. The boy's small hands clutched her tightly. Sensing the danger, Daniel rolled behind a cargo crate as plasma bolts ripped through the air. Sparks showered from the walls. The metallic scent of scorched steel filled the bay. A second hunter rushed forward. Daniel stepped out, firing twice. One shot shattered the soldier's weapon. The second hit the helmet, snapping the hunter's head back before he fell still. The alien Lord didn't move. He watched, calm and unshaken, as if the outcome was already certain. You fight well, human, he said, his voice echoing. But you cannot win. Daniel's eyes locked on him. I don't need to win. I just need you to lose. Two more hunters advanced. Daniel's shots took one down, but the second fired back. The blast struck the crate beside him, throwing him against the wall. Pain shot through his ribs. He pushed himself up, gritting his teeth. His vision swam for a moment, but he forced it clear. Lyra's voice rang out, sharp with urgency. Behind you? Daniel spun and caught sight of another hunter charging from the side. He ducked low, grabbing a steel rod from the floor. The swing connected with a loud crack, sending the soldier sprawling. The alien Lord finally stepped forward. His armor gleamed like polished moonlight. He drew a long blade, its edge glowing faintly. Your courage will end here. Daniel's blaster was almost empty. His chest ached from the earlier hit, but the fire in his eyes didn't fade. He glanced at Lyra for a split second. Her gaze met his, filled with fear and something else. Trust. Thought. Daniel made his move. He fired his last shot at the docking bay's power core. The blast struck true. Warning lights flared red as the core's containment field shattered. The deep hum of the station shifted to a rising roar. The alien Lord's expression tightened. What have you done? Daniel's voice was steady. Given us a chance. The station's alarms screamed. Steam burst from vents overhead. The floor trembled under their feet. Daniel ran to Lyra, pulling her toward the horizon star. Hunters tried to block them, but the sudden chaos slowed their aim. One by one, they fell to Daniel's strikes, or to the collapsing station around them. The alien Lord roared orders, but the growing thunder of the failing power cord drowned his voice. Daniel shoved Lyra up the ship's ramp. Strap in, we're leaving now. The moment the hatch sealed, he powered the engines to maximum. The horizon star roared to life, lifting from the bay as flames licked the walls. They shot out into space, the explosion chasing them like a fiery wave. The station shattered behind them, pieces spinning into the void. In the cockpit, Daniel's breathing was heavy, but his eyes were fixed on the stars ahead. Lyra sat beside him, Kale safe in her arms. She looked at him for a long moment before speaking. You didn't just fight for us, she said softly. You risked everything. Daniel kept his gaze forward. I told you, He'd have to go through me first. The horizon star disappeared into the deep dark, leaving the wreck of the station behind. The horizon star drifted far from the wreck of the station. The star stretched across the void, cold and endless. But inside the cockpit there was only the soft hum of the engines. Daniel sat in the pilot's chair, his hands resting loosely on the controls. The battle still burned in his mind, the flashes of plasma fire, the roar of the explosion, the sight of the alien lord's face just before the station fell apart. Behind him, Lyra sat with Cale asleep in her arms. The boy's breathing was steady now, his small head resting against her shoulder. For the first time since Daniel had met them, there was no fear in her posture, only quiet. She rose and stepped forward, standing beside his chair. Her silver eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. "You could have left us there," she said softly. "It would have been easier, safer." Daniel glanced at her. Maybe, but it wouldn't have been right. Lyra's gaze searched his face, as if trying to read something unspoken. "You risked your life for people you barely know." Daniel's voice was calm but certain. "I don't need to know everything about someone to know they matter." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The low hum of the engines filled the silence. Finally, Lyra lowered her gaze. "When I first asked you to take me and Cale as yours, I spoke from fear. I thought it was the only way to protect us." She looked back up at him. "Now, I want it to be because you choose it." Daniel studied her, the silver of her eyes catching the faint starlight. She was still marked by exhaustion, still bearing the scars of running. But there was something unshakable in her voice now. "You don't belong to me," he said. "But if you want to stay, I'll fight for you, always." Lyra's lips curved into a quiet smile. "Then I will stay, and I will fight beside you." She placed her hand gently on his shoulder. For the first time, Daniel let himself relax. The weight of the chase, the danger, and the endless running seemed a little lighter. Cale stirred in his mother's arms, his small eyes opening just enough to glimpse the man at the controls. Daniel met his gaze and gave the boy a small nod, as if making a silent promise. Outside, the stars turned slowly as the horizon star moved on. Somewhere in the vast dark, the alien lord would rebuild his strength. There would be more hunts, more battles. But now Daniel was no longer just a lone pilot. He had someone to protect, someone who trusted him completely. And for a human, that was reason enough to face the entire galaxy. The ship's engines burned brighter, carrying them forward, into the unknown, where danger and promise waited together in the light of distant suns.